It's just fantastic.
Captain's Log, Subdate 210525.2. So as to better save valuable cube space even though we have plenty of it, I have arbitrarily selected lifers to share a cell and one meal, between up to 5 of them. We'll start with the heaviest inmates and see what happens, and I shall dub this Thunder Cube. Welcome everyone to the Halls of Injustice. Today we welcome inmate number 074, Anthony Akid. And when you find out what he has done, you'll realize how amusing his last name really is. Inmate number 074 has a track record with a particular type of crime. Over the course of 6 years, he's committed a few. They have themselves carried sentences. The more recent one, though, has a consequence, something I've never heard of before. But I will concede I am very interested in learning more about this particular type of treatment. Anthony Akid, aka inmate number 074, has fantasies. Most adults have them. I myself have regular fantasies about all of you no longer being alive. Coronavirus has challenged this. I'm not best impressed. I was annoyed enough when the giant meteor was gaining steam. Now, most people have these fantasies, but the vast majority do not act on them, and others, and arguably the vast majority, are nowhere near Anthony's level of depravity. Consider this part your trigger warning, as the next part involves children. With this in mind, we also need to acknowledge that Anthony has previous convictions for similar crimes. I've already stated it, but there's a reason I've said it again. This shows that he cannot and will not control himself in either obtaining or distributing highly illegal material. As early back as 2014, Anthony Akid was arrested and he ended up admitting to 8 counts of possession and 1 count of distributing indecent images. These images involved children. For this particular crime, he should have received a jail term. My view is very, very strict on this. I'm nowhere near as strict as Cog, who would say something equivalent to get the rope or a short drop and a sudden stop. I would say jail, bye. But the courts in the United Kingdom, ever the joke that they are, decided he would get a 1-year jail term, which is fascinating, right? Off you go. Oh, but wait, the judge hasn't finished. Suspended for 2 years. The reason for this was because he had shown, Anthony Akid that is, reasonable remorse, regret, and planned to make suitable changes to his life. He was also subject to a sex prevention order. Now, I did try finding this, but I couldn't find that. I found sexual harm prevention order, which we've discussed before, and a sexual risk order. For the sake of it, a sexual harm prevention order, which I believe this to actually be, has certain conditions. For example, not being allowed to go to places where there are likely to be children. No access to the internet without installed computer monitoring software, along with not being permitted to delete your internet history. The police are also required to go to your place of residence without giving you notice, to ensure that you are complying with your conditions. And a sexual risk order is usually something imposed upon another who frequently travels abroad to the same place, over and over again, which is why I do not believe this to be applicable, and it was in fact a sexual harm prevention order. But I will readily admit this is a rather fascinating aspect to add to our knowledge. Let's go with that. Either way, Anthony Akid has been, air quotes, punished, end air quotes. That was in 2014. Now let's skip ahead to 2019. Between March and November of 2019, Anthony Akid had been downloading some rather disturbing material, and it wasn't until November when the police randomly turned up that they discovered all of that imagery. They found, for example, 227 images of the most serious classification involving children as young as 3. There were a total of 593 in what they have dubbed lesser categories. During the trial, his defense, Craig Lowe, said that his client had experienced trauma as a child and was in fact seeking psychological support. Many of those treatments are available on the NHS. The issue there is you have to wait a lot longer, so you should probably pay for it because it's more likely you'll be seen within 2 months, which is something that Anthony Akid would like to do, seeking out that assistance. The judge acknowledged that this was a persistent breach and a breach of the sexual prevention order imposed at the previous hearing in 2014. He also acknowledged that Anthony Akid had a perverted interest in children, though he had never translated that into acting out those fantasies. So understandably, Anthony Akid was in fact found guilty. So this is the part where we get to what I find to be the most fascinating. The sentence. You see, it's a deferred sentence, which we'll get to in a moment. He also is subject to a sexual harm prevention order indefinitely, and he has conditional bail, which is actually a part of the deferred sentence. So what is the sentence? Well, the judge has ordered him to undergo experimental eye therapy to curb this perverted interest in children. The treatment in question is called eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, or EMDR. Sessions involve a patient recalling a traumatic event, usually from their childhood or any theatre of war. At the same time, the patient receives stimuli in a rhythmic left-right pattern. This stimuli can be something the patient senses through hearing, sight, or feeling. The bilateral stimulation could involve movement of the eyes from side to side or a tapping movement on different sides of the body. Trained staff also use tones heard through one ear, then the other wearing headphones. These sessions last around 90 minutes once a week. Interestingly, this same is used for panic attacks, anxiety addictions, and eating disorders. I spoke a bit fast then, I didn't mean an addiction to anxiety. Where patients disclose their feelings as a practitioner moves an image or a finger from side to side as they are talking. Sounds like an extension of mesmerism. The additional part of this with the conditional bail is that Anthony Akid has to fund the treatment himself. So he's been court ordered to go to therapy, but he has to pay for it himself, which I find to be delicious. I had honestly never heard of this treatment, by the way, so I'm very much interested to know what people think of it as a sentence. My view on it is, and this is my sentence, mandatory castration, many years in prison, and for lols he can pay for the treatment after we've removed his balls. I'm being kind, to be honest though. I think we all know what I think about this type of criminal. Yes, he has shown remorse, but he didn't stop. And he only stopped when he got caught. My tolerance for this type of person is minimal. Now, as we are done, I do want to know what you all think. So please do let me know in the comments down below. Also, please consider smashing like to drive up that engagement. And consider sharing it. As a final thing, I shall be streaming on Twitch tonight. If I don't see you there, have a fantastic day. And thank you all very much for listening.